So it looks like the Tampa Bay Vipers might not be moving to Orlando after all. And this is from digging from our own Josh Davis. What he found in some of the legal documents is that the XFL is trying to restart their agreement with Raymond James Stadium. Now, during this whole process, between the bankruptcy and everything else, after the league was sold to Alpha Equico, Danny Garcia, The Rock, and Redbird Capital, they've essentially tried to start restarting some of the agreements. And one of the agreements that they had agreed to restart was the agreement between the Tampa Bay Vipers home stadium of Raymond James Stadium, the Tampa Bay Sports Authority in particular. As part of the documentation, it was submitted that there was some kind of agreement in place. Now, this doesn't mean 100% that the Tampa Bay Vipers they will still play in Tampa. We don't know any of this stuff, but it's a good sign. Why would you try to restart an agreement with a city and a venue that you have no interest in using in the future? That's kind of the thing. This happened a couple weeks ago. And in this whole agreement, they have what is called a cure amount. And the cure amount is kind of like, hey, if you pay us this, then we'll restart and we'll get going and we're good to go. Sometimes it's $0 that they're just going to restart the agreement. Sometimes it could be $100,000. We saw this before earlier with Houston, where there was this cure amount, and then it was brought up again, and it was short $100,000. But eventually, that all went through. And usually, that's just part of negotiations. The biggest idea of this whole thing is them saying, yes, we would like to restart our agreement with you. That's basically what's happening right now. Now, this week, Raymond James Stadium filed an objection in this case based on the August 31st proposal that we just talked about, where they said, hey, let's restart the agreement, but the cure amount was $0. Well, now Tampa Bay Vipers and this Tampa Sports Authority filed a limited objection to the order that was submitted, claiming that the cure amount of $0 was incorrect. This doesn't mean that they're not having anything to do with each other, but that they want to negotiate a different number. Now, in the documentation, the TSA, not the TSA that you know, the Tampa Sports Authority, does not object to the assigning of the lease, meaning restarting the contract. They do contend that the cure amount, however, should be $90,000, broken down as $30,000 per game not played. That's a little tough. COVID shut things down. You still want to get paid. We would all like to get paid, but COVID is whatever happened is, come on. But hey, I'm not part of that negotiation because they basically missed 3 scheduled games. In the filing, the entire agreement is included outlining what was signed by both parties. The TSA also released the following statement in the document, quote, TSA expressly reserves the right to submit and or amend the limited objection at any time to add additional sums that may accrue and or become due under the venue use agreement after the date hereof. Furthermore, nothing contained herein shall be construed as a waiver of any rights or remedies of TSA provided for in the revenue use agreement, its right to enforce any provisions of the revenue use agreement, or its rights provided for in its proof of claim filed against the debtor bankruptcy estate. Therefore, creditor Tampa Sports Authority requests this honorable court to enter in an order correcting the amount set forth in the cure notice to reflect the accurate pre-petition cure amount of $90,000. That TSA will be paid a cure amount of $90,000 in connection with the assumption of the venue use agreement. That TSA be awarded any further additional relief this court deems just and proper. What does this mean? It means that TSA, Tampa Sports Authority, is saying if you pay us $90,000 as part of our agreement to get restarted, we want to get paid $90,000. So if the XFL pays them $90,000, then they're going to restart the agreement, which is great. If you weren't planning to play in Tampa, then you could care less about this agreement and you would just let it go away and that would be it, and not try to make an agreement and move on to the next potential venue. So it looks like from the court documents that Tampa will in fact have a team in 2021 or 2022, at least for the foreseeable future. It seems that to me, seeing all this stuff, and we saw it in Houston and some other places, is that they're just trying to restart everything and potentially just go with what they have right now. If they play in a bubble, then this kind of stuff doesn't matter because you could move to Orlando a year later. So either they're going to do the bubble thing and they'll still be the Tampa Bay Vipers, and then they wait next year. But still, if you're paying $90,000, you're going to give it at least another run. And in all honesty, they should give everything another run because everything was cut short. And throwing this out there, if you throw in a guy coaching your team in Tampa and Steve Spurrier, then your ticket sales might not be so low after all. But something to stay tuned and keep an eye on as we continue to comb through all of these legal documents and find out some kind of nugget information for you guys. But it seems to us at XFL News Hub that the Tampa Bay Vipers are not going to be the Orlando Vipers, that the Vipers will be staying in Tampa for the foreseeable future.